Hey guys, this is Jake with Casual Ecommerce, and in this video, I'm going to be going through what apps I think are the best to use for your store, which ones I think are completely necessary, and which ones I feel are optional, and which ones I feel are useless. So whether you are drop shipping or whether you have your own product, whether you're doing the fulfillment yourself, no matter what type of store you have, I feel that there's 5 types of apps that every single store should have, and those are right here. So that's image optimization, reviews, email, visitor tracking, and order tracking. So regardless of what type of store you have, drop shipping, custom products, even if you're shipping out of your garage, you're going to want all 5 of these apps. And then these 2 apps here are optional, so Upsells and fulfillment. Obviously, fulfillment's going to depend on whether you're drop shipping or not, and upsells are going to depend on whether you're just selling one product or multiple products. So now I'm going to get into my suggestions for each one of these app categories. So starting off with image optimization, I recommend Crush.pics. This is the one I've used for multiple years now. Never ran into any issues. And the reason you want an image optimization app is because it's going to optimize all the file sizes of images on your website, which is going to increase the loading speed of your website as well. And that's the main draw of having image optimization. And if you don't know how to manually optimize images yourself, then you're going to need the app. And I mean, even if you have a lot of photos, it's not really worth the time to manually optimize every image yourself when you can just install the app and it does it automatically. So this is the first one that I would recommend. And the next one is going to be reviews. And when it comes to reviews, I've recommended the same app for a while, and I still do recommend Looks. And Looks is helpful if you're drop shipping because you can import the AliExpress reviews, but it's also just a really good all-around review app in general, even if you're not drop shipping, if you're using your own type of custom product. There's a lot of options. There's a lot of different settings that you can customize. It has a lot of different functionality that you can utilize, and you can go ahead and send out review request emails and things like that all within Looks. So it has a lot of different features and stuff, which is why it's the one that I recommend, because I feel like it's the most complete review app. And the reason you need a review app is because reviews are one of the most effective ways of raising your conversion rate. So that's pretty plain and simple. So the next app category I want to cover is emails. So I'm going to give you 2 suggestions here. The first one is Abandonment Protector. Now this one is what I would recommend for more of a short-term store. So if you're doing like a drop shipping store, based around one product, or just any drop shipping store in general, anything where it's only going to be more short-term versus like you're not trying to build a long-term brand around a custom product for years to come, then you can just go ahead and use Abandonment Protector. And the reason I recommend this is because it's super easy to set up. You can go ahead and set up abandoned cart emails in like 15 minutes. You can still send newsletters with it. You can still send pretty much any type of emails you want with it. And it already has a ton of different templates that you just kind of go in and customize. And it's super easy to set up. So this is why I recommend it for short-term stores, because it's cheap. It's only $8 a month, and it's really easy to set up. So it's really easy to just install, set it up, and you're up and ready to go. But if you're doing more of a long-term store, you're selling your own custom products, or any type of store where you're trying to establish like a long-term brand and you want more control over the emails, then I would recommend Klaviyo. And Klaviyo essentially lets you do anything you could want when it comes to your email marketing. You can dive really deep into it. Now, the reason I don't recommend it for the short-term dropship stores is because it takes longer to set up and it has a higher learning curve. So I don't personally feel like the reward is worth all the effort you're going to put in if your store is only going to be up for 6 months. But if it's a long-term brand you're trying to establish, then I absolutely recommend setting everything up legitimately through Klaviyo, because the amount of customization and stuff you can do is extremely effective. So now we're going to move on to the next category, which is customer tracking. And this is going to be where I recommend Lucky Orange. So I believe there's a couple other apps that do the same thing, but this is always the one that I've used. And essentially what this does is it allows you to see and track your customers' movements and like where their mouse is, or what they're clicking on mobile, and you can see exactly what your visitors are doing live. And this is really helpful because there might be a certain point in the sales process where a large percentage of visitors are dropping off, and then without an app like this, you're not going to be able to see that, and then you're just going to keep losing those sales. But if you're able to identify like a certain page isn't performing well, or people keep clicking away at a certain point, then you can go in, try and fix it, and then see if that improves your conversion rates. So Lucky Orange is very efficient when it comes to trying to identify certain points of your store that aren't performing optimally, and you can try and improve them. So you can see right here why visitors don't convert. You can see things like hot maps. You can see which parts of your page are clicked the most. So one thing you'll notice with something like this is you can see that maybe people might try and click on something that isn't clickable. There's a lot of different types of insight you can gather from this. So this is definitely something I would recommend using as well. And the next category is going to be order tracking. So especially in today's day and age where you're competing with Amazon and such, you definitely want order tracking on your store, because if you have Amazon Prime, you have the Amazon app, you know how easy it is to just open it up, go to your orders, and then see exactly where your order is. So you want to kind of have the same thing with your store as well. So you don't want to have to send people off the site to a third-party site or whatever to track their order. You want it to be right there on the site, and you'll notice a lot of big brands are starting to transition to this as well. So to do this, I would recommend using AfterShip. So if you look up order tracking in the App Store, you'll see this one's the most popular by a long shot based on review count, and it's that popular for a reason, because I feel it's the best one. So you can go ahead and set this up. It's going to add a lot more legitimacy to your brand. It's going to make customers feel a lot better when they're waiting for their order, and it's something that a lot of e-commerce stores are doing nowadays, so you pretty much have to do it. So as far as the absolute necessity apps, that pretty much covers all of them. As far as the optional ones, if you are drop shipping, then you're probably going to want to use Overlow, which I assume at this point you probably are already familiar with Overlow. It just makes the order fulfillment process a lot faster. One alternative to this as well is Spocket, so really similar to Overlow, except the suppliers that you can find on here are normally from the US or Europe, and from a few different sources. Sometimes they're from Etsy and such. So this is just essentially the functionality is the same as Overlow, but the sources are a little different. And if you're planning on drop shipping, most likely you'll want to use one of these two. And the last category is going to be upsells. So not every store needs upsells. Obviously, if you're only selling one single product, then there's nothing to upsell. But if you're selling one product, but you have maybe two side products that are kind of related to the first one, so say like, I don't know, you're selling like coffee, and then you could upsell them like a coffee mug or something. If you have something related you can sell them, then this is where an upsell app would be useful. But if you don't have anything related, then it's a complete waste to use upsells. You don't want to just put in upsells for the sake of it. You only want to do it if you have something that would actually be purchased together. And you should be very picky with what apps that you decide to go ahead and install in your store anyway, because a lot of times, especially nowadays, it seems like everyone's installing like 50 apps on their store, and you go to their store and it kind of looks like the 4th of July. There's like 80 pop-ups everywhere, and you'll notice I didn't mention any pop-ups in this video because I don't really like them unless it's an upsell. I don't really like them, and I wouldn't recommend having like 10, 15, 20 apps on your store either, because it's going to make your pages load extremely slow, and no matter what benefit you think you're getting from the app, if your page loading speed is like 10 seconds, all those apps are void because your bounce rate is going to be through the roof and visitors are just going to leave your site before it even loads. So that's why I recommend sticking to the bare bones basics when it comes to apps. I recommend sticking to these categories right here, especially these 5. No matter what type of store you have, I'd recommend these 5. And then if you have a store that requires these 2 down here, then you can go ahead and utilize them as well. So with that said, that's going to be it for this video. If you found it useful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you guys in the next one.